Today we are going to be discussing a new 4K UHD release from Second Sight Films titled Picnic at Hanging Rock, and it is jam-packed with themes of rebellion and nature versus colonialism and sexual repression and the power of the unknown and the unanswered. On Valentine's Day in 1900, a party of schoolgirls go to picnic at Hanging Rock, and several members of the party disappear without a trace. And the first act of this story has some of the most beautiful imagery that I have ever seen in any film. So let's have a look inside of this giant box and see what Second Sight has in store for us. First, gorgeous new artwork that has been commissioned for this release that could not capture the look and the feel of the film any better. Then a couple art cards that we will have a look at very quickly. Next, a paperback book with essays by Daniel Bird, Kat Ellinger, Justine Smith, and Rebecca Harkins-Cross, with features a costume gallery, original marketing of the film, and a write-up on the new restoration. Also, just flipping through here, you can see how beautiful the film is if you haven't seen this before. Like, an example would be this image right here. To me, this is as beautiful as a Renaissance oil painting. Then we have the original novel by Joan Lindsay with cover art exclusive to this release. And then, last up, we have the Digipack with features 2 UHD discs and 2 Blu-ray discs. The UHD discs are region free and the Blu-ray discs are region B locked. And then behind them, let me just have a quick look. No imagery, but there is a textured cream color to it. And then on the reverse side, we have a panoramic view of Hanging Rock. And just to quickly bring out my Criterion Blu-ray release, which I've had for the last few years. If you had this release, you already know this was a hefty release that is already twice the size of a standard Blu-ray set. It came with the Blu-ray, and it also came with the novel, but putting them together, this release is twice the size of the Criterion release, so this is a hefty set. Now that this is all put back together, let's go over the special features. The first 4K disc and the first Blu-ray disc both feature the director's cut, featuring a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative presented in HDR and supervised and approved by Peter Weir and the director of photography, Russell Boyd. Then we have a new commentary by Alexander Heller-Nicholas and Josh Nelson, along with the full-length documentary, A Dream Within a Dream. Then, on the second 4K disc and the second Blu-ray disc, we have the theatrical cut, which is exclusive to this release. There is a standard release out there, but I believe that only includes the director's cut. If you're interested in the book and the novel and the theatrical cut, this is the only way to get them. Second Sight has also done a 4K restoration from the original camera negative and is presented in HDR and also supervised by Peter Weir and Russell Boyd. We have Finding a New Light, a new interview with Russell Boyd. A Lovely Day for a Picnic, a new interview with actor Karen Robson. Crashing Through the Boundaries, a new interview with camera operator John Seal. Something Beyond Explanation, Thomas Caldwell on Picnic at Hanging Rock. An interview with author Joan Lindsay. A Recollection, Hanging Rock, 1900. The original theatrical trailer and outtakes featuring the original ending that honestly asks even more questions. Then the director's cut is 107 minutes long, the theatrical cut is 115 minutes long, and they are presented in the aspect ratio of 1.66 to 1. Now, let's take a couple minutes to talk about the controversy surrounding this release. There have been rumors that DNR has been applied to certain shots, along with the digital grain that has been also applied to those shots. An example would be the first time we see Miranda in the movie. And after looking at it myself, one, it is a very gorgeous 4K restoration that has a very clear uptick in detail over the Criterion Blu-ray. Looking at that specific shot, to me it looks more like a soft focus shot that only has a certain part of her face in detail, so it makes it look like her face might appear to be a little bit waxy, but I think it's just because it's out of focus. Because you can still see fine lines and pores, and to me it looks how it should look. Now, There are other scenes in the movie that do look like they may have been slightly tampered with, especially nighttime scenes. But I'm not sure if it was because possibly the shot might have been slightly out of focus. It makes me think of the 4K restoration of Suspiria that revealed that a lot of shots in that movie are actually not in focus. And it seems like that's what this might possibly be, because you'll have skin textures that look a little bit too smooth right next to clothing textures that are very detailed and very crisp. So that might have been a production problem that we've never been able to pick up on because we didn't have 4K. But what is most controversial to me is the brand new color grade that was supervised by Peter Weir and his director of photography. Problem is, Peter Weir also supervised and approved the Criterion Blu-ray, which has a different aspect ratio as opposed to this release, and also has a different color grade as opposed to this release. And if you're familiar with the movie, you'll know that especially the first 40 minutes of this film has a very soft, warm, angelic glow to it. And every color is now pushed towards warm, basically making the entire film near sepia. And to me personally, it takes away from the beauty of the picture, because even the greens in the outdoor scenes are more of a brownish yellowish as opposed to a rich green now. All I can say is my personal preference is the color grade for the Criterion Blu-ray, but even if there is a little bit of digital futzing going on with this release, I do prefer the picture quality in this new 4K UHD release. And what's even stranger is that this was the follow-up to their Texas Chainsaw Massacre release, which to me is an absolute reference disc for how good 16mm film can look in a UHD presentation. But anyways, let's go get this onto my Blu-ray shelf. So, we have got an absolutely fantastic set with beautiful new artwork and a restoration that is 3 years in the making. Problem is, there are some very questionable things surrounding it. So, if you want to discuss those down in the comments below, feel free, because honestly, there are things about this release that I cannot answer, and I cannot even really do my best to answer in this case, because there are questions about this release that we have that only people who have worked on it can really answer. At this point, it's definitely not something like Predator or Terminator 2, but it is, do you prefer this version, or do you prefer that version? Or are you like me, when you prefer one thing about one version, and another thing about a different version? But anyways, that is going to wrap up today's video, and as always, I wish you pleasant days and spooky nights. Until next time.